Detroit Business Hub Group Director Nancy O'Neill works with her team of experts. Listen to conversations with business professionals to discover the latest business innovations, insights, and trends. Find out what's hot and what's not in today's business market.
Hi, everyone. This is Nancy O'Neill with DBHG. Welcome back. So you all know that we usually have our live stream podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Well, this week, due to scheduling conflicts with my two speakers, we have two podcasts back to back on Thursday evening. So we're so glad that our listening audience and viewing audience could join us this evening. For this podcast, I have with me Renette Gordan. She's also a business coach, just like Brandy Shelton. She's a poet, speaker, engineer, and serial entrepreneur. So she has quite a bit of talents. She is passionate about speaking, writing, and bringing values to others. She's been a business owner for over 20 years. She's the founder of Activate Your Great. She'll share more with us about that. And she's also an ambassador for a new radio station in Detroit called Detroit Business Radio. So Renette, I will let you go ahead and further introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Nancy. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. So I'm glad to share information with businesses that are looking to grow themselves. And if you're in business, the idea is to grow and serve more people. Business is about serving. From your employees, we serve our employees. We serve the customers that we have. We even serve suppliers and partners. So that's what we do, is allow people to serve more people.
Okay, great. All right. So I love this slogan that you have: awake your great, activate your great, and accelerate your great. Tell us more about that. Where did you get the business concept for your slogan, and what exactly does that entail? Like, give us some tangibles of how you help business owners.
Okay. Well, I typically serve businesses that are like accountants. They're professional type organizations. Dentists, salespeople, people who are in a crowded market. So if you think about an accountant, most people that's an accountant, they'll say, I do taxes, I'll do your financials, and they all say the same thing.
Right.
And it's really hard to be of greater value to someone if you haven't really identified your target market. So awake your great. That is the first piece. And it is about finding out your true value, how you can bring the greatest value and command higher prices.
Oh, okay.
So, if you are a cookie cutter business, like an accountant, your story is the same as everybody else's. Let me help you do your taxes. Let me help you do your financials. But if you are able to identify a niche market that you can be of greater value than a normal accountant, you can charge more money. You can add more services to that niche because you're not trying to serve everybody. Exactly. And that's the issue that a lot of people do when they're in business. They don't turn down any business. So if somebody comes to them, I do that. But we have to awake our great. We have to find out what it is that we do best and then expose ourselves that way. So activate your great is the second piece of that. And that's when we dig a little deeper into the business. And once we find your niche and what you do well, we help you to speak to that audience, to activate that great company that you want. Not the one that's fitting in the middle where everybody else is, but one that stands out. So we activate your great. And then we accelerate your great. So we help you speak to the audience that is willing to pay you your worth and not just the book price. We all should have something unique that we can deliver that commands a higher price, where we can get more customers and we can deliver services at a high, to high net worth or whoever it is you're trying to reach.
Okay.
More money.
Yeah. So you talked about your niche market, and even with the teachable courses, you keep hearing this over and over again. And for some people, they can't like really wrap their minds around it because it kind of seems like you're contradicting yourself. But they're like, if you want better clients and you want more clients, charge more money. And a lot of people can't get that concept. So because they're like, well, what do you mean charge more money? You know, if I charge more money, I'm going to attract less people. But even if a person is cheap, nobody wants to be labeled quote unquote cheap. So you never want to be the cheapest in town because people are going to be like, well, if you're selling something that cheap, something must be wrong with it. Like personally, I don't eat hamburgers. I mean, I don't eat red meat, but say, you know, if I had to have a choice between a 99-cent hamburger and a $5 hamburger, I'm going to go with the $5 hamburger because I'm going to assume that there is something wrong with the 99-cent hamburger. I'm like, it's not 100% beef. It's got some fillers in it that I probably don't need to be eating, or something's wrong with it. Can you address that? Because a lot of people can't wrap their minds around that concept.
Well, the challenge that people have is they don't want to turn down an opportunity.
Right.
But actually, you're hired to someone you can deliver a unique service to. So I give you maybe a little bit of an example. Everybody understands. Like for some reason, if you go and buy a Nike shoe, you're willing to pay a lot more for it.
Yeah.
Why? Because they branded themselves.
Absolutely.
Because they have consistency, because they have a good reputation. Mm-hmm. And those are all the things that we need to develop. We all need to be branded. We all need to know who we serve, not just a general serve, but who we can deliver the highest value to. So when you spoke about that $5 hamburger versus the $1 one, I'm working with a client right now, and she has a cleaning services company. And so she runs around and she gets business. And she's been in business for 3 years, but she's been wearing herself out because she's got to keep on working. She's really, I tell my clients this. I said, look, a lot of you left your job and because you were tired of chasing, dollars for hours. Right. And what they end up doing is they end up employing themselves.
Absolutely. That's all a franchise is. You're just hiring somebody to tell you how many more hours to work, what time to get to work, and what time to go home. If I'm going to do that, I might as well just stay at the job. What's the difference?
Yeah. So like a lot of professionals, attorneys and accountants, they are professionals. They have a company, but they end up doing almost all the work. Yeah. And so what ends up happening is they're now employing themselves. Absolutely. A business, and I learned this when I went to my MBA. A business is, the purpose of it is to increase shareholders' value. When you're just chasing cash flow, you're not building any equity in your business. Right. Equity comes from branding. It comes from trademarks. It comes from patents. It comes from whatever unique branding you have. It makes you worth more money. Absolutely. So that's it right there. So people will spend more money if they understand. As a matter of fact, they're fearful, and they will go to the lowest bidder. So if you are an accountant and you're charging the same as all the others do, as soon as somebody finds somebody a little bit cheaper, they're gone. Yeah. You can't hold on to them because you got them because of being the lowest price. Who wants to be the lowest price? Right. So the first business I had, we bid on contracts. It was network. I have an engineer background, and we did computer networking, meaning we put in infrastructure in commercial buildings to connect to the internet, to connect their devices. And we bid on them, and we got the work when we were the lowest bidder. Even though these were multi-million-dollar contracts, I soon found out, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the lowest bidder. Did I miss something? How come I'm the lowest bidder? And that's the caveat that we get into when we want to be the lowest price. We'll never get out of that scenario.
Yeah, I've heard it's good to be in the middle. You don't necessarily want to be the highest, but you don't want to be the lowest either. So I think instead of chasing price and trying to be the lowest, I think it's better to sell yourself on your value. The higher value that you sell yourself, brand, and market yourself, the more people are willing to pay. But like you said, if you're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, if you're out here just chasing clients and you know, like you said, chasing hours in exchange for dollars, they don't see a difference between you and anybody else. So when you add the value, and that's to me what makes a difference. When you can add the value, people are willing to pay more. And you have to show them what your value is. That's why we do the podcast. That's why we do the blogs. So we can establish ourselves as professionals. So when we are, you know, competing for people's business, like you said, bids or whatever else, you look like a professional versus a hustler. A hustler is just out there chasing dollars, chasing clients. They're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. A professional adds value. They're able to show you, this is how much I'm worth and why. And after you've branded yourself for a while, you no longer have to sell yourself on your value because everybody already knows your brand. Rolex doesn't have to sell themselves on their value. BMW, Bentley, Audi, they all have a particular brand. And so now when you hear the word or you see the logo or you see their car emblem, oh, you know, you see the Rolex emblem. Oh, that's a Rolex. You already know what the value is associated with that item. So now at this point, you're no longer having to sell yourself. So I think that, to me, that's one of your greatest assets, is to be able to sell your value. Do you agree with that? What do you think?
Absolutely. But you said something, you want to be right in the middle. Right in the middle is average.
That's true. And that is average.
Awake your great and activate your great is narrowing yourself so that you bring unique value. You do it so well. Now, you're not maybe going to do all the services you used to do. First of all, some of the services don't bring you the profits that others do. So you have to really dig into your business. So this client that I just spoke to yesterday, and she has a cleaning business, and she had an opportunity for a project.
Okay.
And, she was going to have to bring on 2 more employees, and it sounded really good. And I said, well, let's look and sit down and talk about this. Okay. What is your profits going to be on here? She was looking at the amount, and she wasn't considering whether or not she was really going to bring profits in. And that's what happens when we get in that scenario where we're changing hours for dollars. We're not really looking at building a business that we can grow, add equipment, add assets to our business. The idea of a business is to sell your business for multiples of what you initially started it with. That's the true definition of a business, is to grow shareholders' value. Yes. So what that means is, and I learned this through a mentor that I had. He had 11 businesses. He sold them off. And I'm like, wait a minute, you sold it off? How did you do that? And then I remember when I went to school, it's to grow. We are the shareholders. So if you started your business, you're the shareholder.
Right. 100%. You're it.
Some people are 100%, others is not. But the whole idea is to be able to sell your business when you get ready to retire, and you can start with a multi-million dollars you should be able to get for your business. If you invest in all those years, all of that time in your business, you should be able to sell it as a package. And people buy businesses every day. A person, yes. So that's the idea, is we should be adding assets. So like for a cleaning business, you know, you can add equipment. You know, you can add ways that, you know, like I'm telling her, why don't you consider mold remediation? It's a highly specialized type of cleaning, but it brings a premium cost because first of all, it's an emergency and it takes a special training in order to do it. So these are some of the ways that you look at the industry. What are the companies doing that are bringing higher value to their customers? So that's it.
Since you brought up the cleaning business, I mean, it's all over Crane's Detroit business that these cleaning companies are they've gone gangbusters in the city because I don't know what it is with cleaning. I guess it's a job that, for commercial cleaning. We actually will have a commercial cleaner on the show next Thursday. It's something that it seems like a lot of people don't want to do, but it pays extremely well. Like I recently met a professional cleaner. She said she makes about $8,000 a month. I'm like, that's some pretty good money just for cleaning offices. But
and that's probably on the low end.
It is on the low end.
That's on the low end. But
she lives on the West Coast. She said she's been doing this for 20 years. She actually told me that she does have a criminal record. Of course, I'm not going to ask her what happened. It's none of my business. I just met this woman. I was actually shocked that she even told me that because most people are not going to tell you that in the first conversation. But she said she got out of prison and she went right back to the cleaning business. So to me, it's like, almost like a bulletproof industry or career where even going to jail doesn't really tarnish your career. So I was like, I'm going to start looking into this a little bit because, I mean, a lot of us have side hustles. And I even used to work with the lady. She would teach during the day. And then she had a couple of clients, 2 or 3, where she would clean for them like in the evenings and on the weekends. And just her like 3 or 4 clients, and this was just for residential homes, brought her probably an extra $500 a month. So that's some pretty good money.
Yeah, well, you have to decide who your market is, and you upsell. That's the other thing that a lot of businesses leave on the table is they do the general services and they never figure out how they can upsell. So when you have one client, like say you're an accountant, you have one client, and I'm saying you have more than one, but I'm saying this one client's been with you every year. You're doing the exact same things to them. You're doing their quarterly financials. You're maybe paying for their, withholding taxes and all those other things. You're doing the same thing every year.
Yeah.
So there's no growth in that.
No.
You have to figure out
linear business.
Exactly. You have to figure out how I can be of more value to the people that I'm serving. It could be maybe partnering with somebody that does services that are similar to yours, and both of you can add more to your bottom line that way. It could be helping them to maybe automate something inside their business, finding ways for them to save money or make more money. These are the ways that we can grow our business. And if you can brand something, I have this saying, everyone can create to be great. So whatever you're in, even in the cleaning business, there's processes, there's new techniques that maybe your company could make a name for and even sell that particular new cleaner. Or how people got into the natural hair and they started doing all those products,
natural hairstyles.
People have done very well. You have to. You're in your business. If you're not creating, you're just going to be average. So go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. So with back to the cleaning, we now the reason why these businesses are going gangbusters is because they're presenting themselves as, we disinfect to get rid of COVID-19 or we prevent COVID-19. So whole COVID-19 pandemic, I mean, yes, a lot of people suffered, but every time there's a recession or depression, somebody's making some money somewhere. And usually it's like millions and millions of dollars. So they're doing, the cleaners who are doing really well right now, they're the ones who are coming and saying, We have special techniques, that get rid of bacteria. We get rid of anything that causes viruses, including COVID-19. And people are because I think there's like a panic and paranoia about COVID-19, and people who haven't had it yet, they don't want to get it, that they're willing to pay a little bit more for those services. But like, honestly, like, to me, it really comes down to marketing. So I'm sure there are some new processes, but Lysol kills COVID-19. So technically all of this marketing, these people saying we kill COVID-19. Well, they could just be going in spraying Lysol on the table and the doorknobs. You don't really know, like, what does that mean? You're going to have to break that down to me. But I think because of the panic and hysteria over COVID-19, people are like, oh yeah, let me sign up for this. This is because they feel like that's where the value is, they're helping me prevent COVID-19. So I think, once again, it goes back to marketing.
Yeah, well, whenever you are doing something every day, there's always things that take a long time to do. So we are, people who are doing things like, we can even go back to the slaves that created a whole lot of new products. Why? Because they had a hard time doing their job. So there's always, every industry has ways that you can create something new.
Yeah.
Everyone, because when a new product comes out on the market, that's somebody who put some time and energy into creating something, branding it, trademarking it, doing a unique mixture, and you can actually, it's not called a patent, but it's a solution, like Pepsi Cola, they have protection for their formula.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You can come up with ways to do anything better. That's where then you can say, my company is the only one that has the XYZ.
Right.
That's true. So that automatically brings you additional value. So you have to create to be great. If you think about anybody that has a business that you can think of who has done something unique, that's what made their name stand out.
Yeah, you're right. And I will say too that sometimes I don't know a better way to say this, but I guess resourcefulness, sometimes not having something, it actually opens the door for you to invent something new. For instance, like the owner of the chip clip, he realized there wasn't really a really good way to close potato chip bags. So, he created the chip clip. So there's hundreds of stories like this where people kind of got stuck in something and they're like, I need a solution for this, and they couldn't find one on the market, so they just created one themselves.
Absolutely. And innovation is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm a big innovator.
Right.
So that's the value that I bring. I can see opportunities that others can't see. And I love to help someone come up with a unique way of doing something and branding it and bringing more value to their customers, because whatever it is that they're branding is helping them and making more money because of it. You can license something that you create and make money that way.
Absolutely. You can sell your ideas. I mean, it's called intellectual property. There's a whole lot of different ways, to skin a cat.
Absolutely.
For lack of a better term. When you talked about finding your niche, how do people go about doing that? So it's one thing, I think, to be creative. There's so many people that are creative and broke. I'm sure all of us know people like that. But it's another thing to be creative and then find that group of people to sell your idea or concept to. So how do people go about finding their niche, especially if it's like a franchise where everyone's selling the same thing?
Well, if it's a franchise, you really have to follow their guidelines.
Right.
You can't do something. Now, if you come up with a new system, you can franchise your own company.
Right.
But to answer your question about finding a niche, I take people through a multi-step process to find their niche.
Okay.
So it's a combination between, we are really an extension. Our business is an extension of us. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So whatever it is that we do well, that's the value we can let shine through our business.
Okay.
So some people will look at it as, I'm going to be the best customer service in my market. People are going to know me for customer service. So I'm thinking of Apple. If you think of all the ways when you walk in their store, you sit down at the bar, it's an experience. That's what makes them stand out in people's mind. They have the big product launches and they make a big to-do about it. And, that's an experience. So you don't necessarily have to have a new product. You can have a new way of serving your clients that meets the needs of that market. So a niche is just something that there's a need for. So you mentioned something that was very important. How many millions and millions of patents there are out there that never get produced?
Right.
That's not good. You always have to be in tune with your customer. So where we should be spending the most time in our business is understanding the needs of our customers. We need to know what they wake up thinking about, what they go to sleep thinking about, where they go and exercise, where they take their kids to school. What is it that keeps them up at night? What are the challenges that if you brought a solution to them, they'd be like, where have you been all my life?
Right.
So that's what a niche is. It's not just finding what it is you want to do. It's determining that there's a need and that the customer is willing to pay a premium price for it. I say premium price because I don't believe Activate Your Greatest not about being in the middle.
Okay.
I believe every business can stand out on its own because it has unique assets from the people that are there, from the business owner that's there, to the relationships they've built with suppliers, with partners, with their branding. All of that is unique. So each business, whether or not you're an accountant, attorney, or whatever, you don't have to fall in the middle.
Right. And so, Ms. Gordan, how did you actually find your niche for your clients?
Well, I had to go through the same steps.
You followed your own 12-step program.
And that's why I did it. So my first business, I made an error because I did not know who my customers were very well. We were bidding on contracts, large contracts at the city of Detroit, and we got a lot of them. But when the economy changed, you remember in 2010, 2011, when the economy just shifted, the financial crisis.
Right.
There were no more bids because the housing prices went down, taxes went down, and they didn't have any more money to put into new infrastructure. So I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We've been in business for 11 years and we had lots of employees, and you become like almost a parent when you have a business because you have houses to take care of. You got other people that you're responsible to.
Right.
So that business ended up folding. So I'm like, what did we do wrong? And you mentioned it. All we knew was to bid on products and services. That's all we knew. So we didn't know our niche very well. So I had to go in and discover that that's the first thing that you do is you stay so close to your customer or your prospects that when you start talking to them, you're talking in their language. You're letting them know I get you. And they feel like she gets me. I'm not going to leave her because she gets me. She knows what I need before I even know I need it. So that's what I had to do. Was I went through a process myself. I left a corporate position that was very comfortable. I was the middle management, and I left company cars, all of that. And it was a tough decision for me to make. It was a rough road. And I don't want to see people out here running in circles, and then they say they wasn't cut out to business. Well, you did not do your homework. You did not ensure that you understood what you're selling or what service you're providing, that they really need it. What is that market size like? What is it that is missing? Where are the gaps that you can fill? Being a part of the community and the network, from the suppliers to, like I said, to the partners, to some of the organizations like yourself, where people who have businesses go to.
Right.
So when you infuse yourself in that network and in that community, you're one of them, and they know that you understand what they need. You're not trying to service everybody.
Right.
Because you feel like you want to be everything, and you're really nothing to everyone.
Exactly.
You want to be everything to a few people.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Well, that's definitely some good advice, Renette. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So let's pivot to Detroit Business Radio. Tell us a little bit more about Detroit Business Radio, how it got started, what your role is with the radio station, and what you all do in the Detroit community.
Well, I'm glad that you asked that. We do a lot the same as you do. We reach out and we tell the stories of business owners. The idea is to help them to grow their business, to reach more people, and basically to serve the community. So Detroit Business Radio only deals with business to business types of businesses.
Okay.
That makes sense. So the businesses we deal with, not B2C. There are people who serve other businesses in one way or another. So I do interviews with anyone that we feel will fit and will bring value to the community.
Okay.
It's all about Detroit businesses. We're about telling the stories of their experiences in Detroit, how they might be able to help their customers, or how they may be able to help someone else that's getting started understand what it's like in that particular industry. And we also help people, if they want to come on as a person who speaks about their business and how they serve people, they can actually be a host of a program. They can be a sponsor of a program, but we don't charge in order to tell your story. We want to tell the story of as many people as we can, so that the community of businesses like yourself and other people who are looking for more people to know about them, basically to know the good that they're doing in the community.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And I also see that you were honored the Toastmasters International, one of their highest awards, Distinguished Toastmaster. Tell us more about your experience with Toastmasters. I know a few people who have been part of Toastmasters before in the past. Does that help you with your networking as well? Does that help you to meet additional business owners? Has that helped you grow your business?
Well, it does. I'm a believer in lifelong learning. I'm a believer in stepping out of your comfort zone every day.
Okay.
I'm a believer that there's something we can all grow at. And when you challenge yourself, taking on a role that you've never done before, whether that's a leadership position. Last year, I was the club growth director for the district, which is one of the top 3 positions in our district. But I had to grow. I'm about growing. I had to grow myself in order to serve and bring in more companies that would find Toastmasters of value to them. So what does that mean? That means that you're telling a story about how people can grow and find, do things they never thought they could do. Get out of their comfort zone. Stand up in front of X amount of people and talk. The reality is, we are a speaking organization, but we build leaders.
Okay.
If you're speaking and you have nothing to be of value to anybody in, you're not leading. You're just
talking. Hot air.
Right. So our organization is where leaders are made, and it's an opportunity for me to come out of my comfort zone all the time and do things that challenge me and also serve others that are in the organization.
Now, do you consider Toastmasters to be like a business organization, or do you think it's more public speaking?
Well, wherever people are, it's business opportunities.
Absolutely. That's definitely true.
Right. So you meet people, and we don't want to just meet people just to meet them. We want to make and build relationships that are deep, because those are the ones that convert. So if we're everywhere talking to everybody and we never follow up and make deep relationships with key people, we are not going to convert and be of value to them, and they be of value to us. Because trust is the thing that you overcome when you are in organizations. So I can imagine in the hub that you have started, people are starting to know each other, and they trust each other, and they want to help each other.
Absolutely.
That's the way that we do in Toastmasters. It's about serving and helping other people. And you do build trust. You do build relationships. It's almost like a second family in some ways in the clubs that you're in.
Absolutely. And, they say that in business, relationships are everything. Well, I would tend to agree with that. Relationships are extremely important, especially when you're dealing with, they call it, this is the new coin phrase, is relational sales. And the reason why it's called relational sales is because, I'll give you an example. If you're a realtor, which I'm a former realtor as well, and you sell someone a house, okay, that person may want to sell that property or their home in 3 or 4 years if you're still in the business. And I've witnessed this before and with my own eyes. They'll list the home with you. They call you. They list the home with you. You sell it again, and then now they have to find a new place to stay. So whether they stay in Detroit or they're going to relocate out of state, you can refer them to a realtor out of state and hopefully get some type of a referral fee paid back to you. Or that's an opportunity. So out of that one relationship you had 3 sales in 4 years, and hopefully the person was satisfied with your service, and it sounds like they were. They're going to refer you to their friends and family. So you actually had potential just from one person to get, 5 or 6 sales. So relational selling is very important for your business, especially when you're dealing in the services industry, because, there's one book that I read a long time ago. It's called Referral of a Lifetime. Those referrals are invaluable. And the nice thing about referrals, the trust is already built. You're not having to go out and pay for leads. It's the most expensive way to promote your business and advertise and market your business. And the relationships go so far and so deep. So it's very important.
Absolutely. If you're in business and you're not building relationships, I don't know. It's not going to be.
It's not going to last that long.
Some people like to hard sell and get a new customer every time.
Right.
Instead of doing, like you said, building deep relationships where you can expand. And I have a really short story. How much more time do we have?
About 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, there is a mentor that I had, and his company ended up being Bartech. You probably heard of Bartech.
Yes, I have.
Staffing. So quite a number of years ago when I came out of high school, and I was in engineering in high school, I got a call and they said they wanted to hire me to be basically a designer. And I thought, first of all, I didn't understand how I got that opportunity. But the backstory of it is the person, his name is John Barfield. He was golfing with one of the plant managers of a GM plant. And this man, and he'll tell you in his book, he says it, he had a 6th grade education. He built a relationship that was so deep and strong with this plant manager that he says, well, do all the janitorial services at GM. At this plant, I should say, not at all the GM facilities. And so next time they're golfing, he goes, well, why don't you start an engineering company? And he's like, engineering? Did you understand? I didn't graduate from high school. And he told him this. He says, all you have to do is hire a good manager. And then you just start the business. So he got a building. This was in downtown Ypsilanti. And they hired a manager. I was the first employee in their engineering services business, which ended up being biotech.
Right.
So anyway, make a long story short, that was all based on a relationship. And this man was a server. He was a person of high integrity, John Barfield. He's a person that you trust. You know, he would do things as the owner of the business, and he had lots of employees by this time. We would be working, and he would come in and clean the bathrooms. And I was saying to myself, they're the owner of the business. They come in and clean in the bathroom. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The type of person, he was just down to earth. He's a person that you trust. And so, you know, he built a huge business as a man that had a 6th grade education. So it's all based on relationships. So that's what we were just talking about, building deep relationships. As a matter of fact, I'm about to start a golf league. I'm like, I better. I better get.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is funny because you just took the words out of my mouth. I'm like, you would be shocked about how many business deals go on the golf course. I mean, it's ridiculous. A lot of these people probably can't even play golf. I can't talk. I can't play golf either. But
you know what?
If you're a girl, you could just sit up there and look cute and wear your little golf skirt and you can hang out at the golf court. You don't have to know how to golf.
That's right.
I just like a lot of times when you're a woman, now this is my experience. I'm not going to stereotype, but a lot of times women get dismissed anyway. So I was like, I could just sit here and look cute. I mean, I don't really have to sell anything.
Well, you know, actually, if you're presentable and you got a friendly face,
right?
I know you have a good demeanor. You know, when you come around some people, you get bad vibes. You know what I'm saying? Other people, they're warm and inviting, and people want to come over and sit with you and just talk.
Yeah, that's just start a conversation.
Absolutely. So we all have to pay attention to emotional intelligence. What vibes are we giving, you know, so that we can we can just build those relationships. We can find ways to serve. And that's what it's about, is meeting somebody and not what can I get from them,
right?
But how can I serve them? Whether it's sharing information or sharing an opportunity that they might be interested in, going out to lunch, I guess, when you can go out to lunch.
Right, especially in this environment.
I miss that. But absolutely, you are absolutely correct. So we got to go out to some golf outings. And
we do. There was one of my former clients at Farmers. She had invited me out to a golf outing with her husband. It was some kind of fundraiser they were doing. And I just remember going. I already knew I could not play golf. I had never really played golf before. So I had a strategy going in. I'm like, I'm not getting on a golf cart. I'm just going to hang out like in the clubhouse. And you would be shocked. Like, people just come and they talk. First of all, they're trying to figure out what are you doing here? Because you're not playing golf. So that like drew attention to me. Like I wasn't even trying to get attention, but people would just sit down and start having a conversation. I was like, oh, I'm just here supporting my friend. You know, I wanted to support the fundraiser. And then you can kind of grow into a conversation. And so eventually they'll be like, well, what do you do? So that kind of segues into, you know, you saying, well, I'm a realtor, I'm an insurance agent, or, you know, however you want to sell yourself. And, you know, sometimes they'll be like, well, it's just a casual, very soft sell. I've never been a hard seller, but, you know, at the end, like, you know what, that was a nice person. Even if you don't get any business from them and they take your card, they may refer you to someone else. So that's like an example right there. But I will say, when you talked about the hard sell, I mean, selling hard it's difficult because you're like a rat on the Ferris wheel. You're always going to be looking for that next sale. And like you said, you're not really building anything. You're just pretty much working to, you know, for an hourly wage or you pay your bills. But at the end of the day, it also leads to burnout. And you're not going to want to do this in like 5 or 10 years. You're going to be ready to do something else because you've basically, you know, you've burned bridges, you've ran through all of your leads, you ran through your customers, or they didn't have a good customer experience, so they're not going to refer you to anyone else because nobody really wants to be sold to for anything at this point. So I really think that the sales approach and that relationship building and that you know, relational sales approach is a lot more, it goes a lot further. So I think that depending on especially what type of sales you're in, like if you're in services, you definitely have to build those relationships. But it definitely goes a lot further when you are with the soft sales approach versus that hard sell. And a lot of people can't even hard sell anymore. You might be able to like hard sell a car, but like for a lot of products, people, you know, they know what they want. So a lot of consumers are a lot smarter now. They're doing their research on the internet before they make major purchases. So you have a lot of savvy consumers where they're not just going to walk into a store and you're going to be able to sell them anything. Most people making a major purchase, they've done their research, they've been researching it for, you know, weeks or months, and they already know what they want when they walk in the store. So I think that kind of hard sell approach that might have worked like in the 80s or 90s, but I don't really think it's very effective at this point.
I would tend to agree with you. Mm-hmm. I always tell this story about people who invest in businesses. So you got angel investors, you have people who fund the business. We have to think about ourselves as business owners as an investor in our own business. And most investors, if you ever pitch for money, which I've pitched for money for businesses, they want at least
Okay, Renette is frozen right now. Hopefully she will be back to join us so we can.
Oh, there we go. I apologize. So so we should expect a 10 times return on what we've put into our business. We are an investor. We are the shareholders, and we're working to grow shareholder value. We're not just looking for cash flow. And if we keep it in mind as a business, we'll understand why it's important to have a niche. Why it's important, like Myers has Myers brand. And then if you're buying laundry detergent, they have their brand. And then they're going to have like Tide. And Tide is going to get more money. We all know it's the same formula, right? We all know that. But we're willing to pick up the Tide because we perceive it as having higher value.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the brand is of better value than the generic, and sometimes it isn't. I mean, I've had experience with Tide or using a certain type of bleach, like Clorox versus just like, you know, dollar store bleach. I can honestly say I think the Clorox works a little bit better.
You know what? I imagine they keep some of the secret formula away from it. But the question is, which one do you want to be?
Right.
And we have to think about that for our businesses. When we get ready to retire, we should all have built something that we can either sell to someone else or let someone inherit what we've built.
Absolutely.
And it should not be operating the same way it did 15 years ago. It should be, every year we should have brought some value to our business to make the assets in our business worth more, not just cash. People think of only cash,
right.
But there's other things you should put into your business so that you can have a return on investment.
Absolutely. And, I was just talking to Brandy on the podcast before this one about, where's your break even point? At some time, after you have put an initial investment in, at some point you should start to see a profit in your business. I mean, that's the whole goal. Like, people start business to make money. I mean, otherwise, I say this all the time, if you're not making money after a certain amount of time of investing, then you're basically, it's a charity. At that point, it's not really a business anymore. So that was one of the things with COVID and, the PPP grants and loans and everything that a lot of Black owners, according to, some of the podcasts and shows that I watched, they didn't understand is that they really didn't have very much of a profit margin. Some of us think we're in business because we open our doors every day. We service a few customers, but at what point do you start to make a profit? That's when you really are in business. And I say in my book, fire your job, be your own boss. Nothing happens until you sell something. You've got to sell something to be a business owner.
Absolutely. You have to sell, hopefully, products and services. I really believe in helping people find something that they can create that's unique about their business, so people can recognize the company as something that's unique to the industry. So I believe that, I mean, each of us, you're a unique person to me, and everybody else we meet is unique. And what makes us unique is our experiences, our education, some of the opportunities we may have had in our life. And that's the same thing that the business goes through. And we need to look at those wins that we've had and how we've made the most value, or how we've really helped people. And we need to do more of that. We need to do more of what it is that makes us unique and special to our customers.
Yeah, we used to, in the sales companies that I come from, we called it our unique value proposition.
Proposition, right.
Yeah.
And that's what we go through is your value proposition. Absolutely. But we niche it down way low. I mean, to the point where when you're speaking to your customer, they're going like this.
Like they know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. We're not selling them a generic product or service. We're selling them something that they wish they had a few years ago.
Right.
And that's really a higher value because of that value proposition. What you're speaking is something that they recognize is not the general stuff they get from everybody else.
Right. And honestly, like the saying goes, you get what you pay for. I mean, a lot of us, even if we buy the generic brand of detergent, if we could afford it and it was it's a luxury for us to get Tide versus Homeline. But it just depends on what's available in your budget. So we might value Tide, but we might not just buy it just because of budgeting. And what do you value? Do you value, and it's a trade-off. So if you're going to get the Tide, that means you might have to give something else up. And somebody might not want to give up their cup of coffee from Starbucks to buy Tide. So it just kind of depends on, your value system and what you value more. So, do your clothes have to be like ultra white, or can they just be a little white and you get your Starbucks coffee? So that's kind of how you have to see sales.
Absolutely. But we have to do that for our business as well.
Yeah.
We always should be investing in growth in our business. And what does that
Absolutely.
mean? Well, maybe we have to reduce our expenses some in order to channel some of our profits over to growth. You know,
Absolutely.
so exactly what you're saying that we do in our home is what we have to do in our business.
Yeah,
Not
because
just,
like you said, with growth, you talked about innovation today. You talked about growth. So, for example, with growth, you're like you said, you're always learning. You know, you're a lifelong learner, and that's very important because we should always be educating ourselves. It doesn't always have to be formal education. But like you said, Toastmasters, you're educating yourself on public speaking. So you're always educating yourself. You're always trying to figure out what's the next best thing you can do to grow your business or grow yourself personally. Because as you said earlier, we are an extension of our business. We should always be growing. And my sister used to be like, why are you taking all these classes? And I was like, what's wrong with taking classes? You know, especially kind of when you're in that like tween stage, the 20th stage, you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. So I was like literally taking my basket weaving classes. I took doll making classes. I took industrial sewing classes and this, I mean, and I do have a formal education as well. And I'm like, I'm not, you know, like in the, you know, fashion industry today or, but it was such a good experience. It helped me to develop as a person. It got me out of my comfort zone, and I was doing things I had never really thought about doing before. And I took all of these classes before I ever started my own business. And I used to sell like little baskets, and I would take them around to like little hair salons and stuff. And while you're doing, you know, I was doing a lot of this in my 20s when I was trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I think while you're doing this, it's like you are, you know, you're starting to develop those business processes without even really knowing it. But it takes time to build those skills up. And I mean, even when I was a little girl, like I used to go around the neighborhood, like selling candy. And, you know, my dad would take me to Sam's Club to buy, you know, candy in bulk. And I would like go around the neighborhood and be selling candy to people. So it's like I've been in sales for a while now, but like as you get older, you kind of start to hone in more on, you know, getting serious about exactly what you want to sell, what products and services you want to offer to your fellow man, and then finding out what your unique value proposition is. So all of those pieces are really, really important to you developing yourself as a person.
Yeah, some people don't even know who they are themselves.
Yeah.
And they follow a script, whatever somebody told them to do for a career and for a business. And if you don't know yourself, it's going to be definitely hard to sell unique value in your business.
Absolutely.
It starts from you. And if you don't know what makes you special, I help people with that as well.
Yeah.
Because they start a business and I want to start a business, but I don't know what I want to do.
Right.
That's a huge problem.
It is. Because then you're just going to do whatever the biggest trend is that's selling. Like I said, you know, oh, this cleaning business, I can make $8,000 a month. I mean, I was kind of joking. Like, I don't like necessarily want to clean. I might do it like as a little side hustle, but it's not something I'd want to do as a long-term career. So you can't really just chase money and dollars because you're not going to really, you can make the money, but you're still not going to like really feel fulfilled. And I don't think you're going to be that happy as a person either to do something that you don't really enjoy doing just for money. That happens with a lot of people though. You see like parents, they kind of drill a certain career into their children because they think this particular career, you know, doctor, attorney, or lawyer, whatever, this is going to make you X amount of dollars. And it's just not the case anymore. I mean, the world is changing. A lot of people that could go easily become a medical doctor, they're becoming engineers because they don't want all the overhead expenses. And you're still like in the science and math field. So they're like, I don't really want to deal with all the stress of being responsible for somebody living or dying. I can just become an engineer. So yeah, you kind of have to find the niche that makes you happy. And and both of them can make, you know, 6 figures a year. So
I believe anybody can. I think any business has the ability to make multiple millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like the more value that you have, the more people are willing to pay for that product or service. So I really enjoyed the podcast interview with you, Renette. Is there anything else that you want to make as a closing comment?
Well, I want to say this. Step out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to fail. If you're going to go in business, you have to be okay. I call them fail learns instead of failures.
That's good. I like that.
Yes, you're fail learns. You're actually failing forward.
Forward. That's the one I've heard before, failing forward. Yeah.
And if you're not failing, you're not growing. So if you want to stay safe, that's not going to help you to grow your business. You have to be willing to think out of the box.
Absolutely.
But we believe in you here. I know your business does. We believe in businesses, and we hope to see much more out of this COVID situation. A lot more businesses started, and a thriving economy.
Yeah, there's so many people who started their own business. There are two ladies, and I cannot, for this life of me, I can't think of the name of it. But there's two ladies who started a baking business in Maryland. And they had government jobs, and they went on furlough, and two sisters started a baking business, and they're in the middle of major magazines now. So we actually started this business in just last year, officially January 2020, but we're only about a year and going on a year and a half old now. So we literally started right before the pandemic. So there is definitely opportunity there. And as we said before, sometimes necessity breeds creativity. People who are on furlough or laid off or whatever, they didn't have their only choice was to start a business. That was the only way they had any type of opportunity to have ongoing income, because their income was suddenly cut off or it was substantially reduced. So that was their only option, and they made it work.
Well, thank you, Nancy, for inviting me, and I hope the Business Hub group continues to be a service to the community and grows in whatever the mission is that you guys have before you.
Thank you so much, and same to you as being a business coach as well, Renette. Thank you so much for being a guest. Everybody have a great evening. We will see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.